everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about the roots of colonial self-rule, and this makes for a really great essay question, DBQ question, short answer question, so that's why I want to talk about it. And it's basically would ask you to describe examples of how the colonists began to establish their own self-government. Sometimes they tie this into the American Revolution and the impact that had as well. So first, we have in Jamestown the House of Burgesses, and this was the first representative government set up in America, and it worked like a mini parliament or Congress. In Plymouth, when they arrived, they signed the Mayflower Compact, and it was basically a social contract between the men arriving at the time to, work out colonial ideas together. In Massachusetts, where the Puritans had settled, before 1690, only church members could vote, but after 1690, it was based on property ownership, so this opened up the political participation in that region, and in each community, they held small town meetings, giving the people the chance to speak or to make changes in their town, and this is a particular trait of the New England region of the colonies as well, so town meetings would be a great thing to discuss. As Massachusetts Bay's population grew, Puritans moved out of Boston and they established Connecticut. And a few years later, in 1639, they wrote something called the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, which is America's first constitution, and it established a democratic government where only male church members could vote. So while these are examples of not a lot of people having voting rights, we're going to continue to see that throughout U.S. history, it is still better than some places in Europe. And so this is an example of how self-governments are beginning here. In Maryland, due to the conflicts between the Catholics and Protestants, they passed something called the Act of Toleration, guaranteeing religious freedom for all Christians. So we have an example of this religious freedom idea. Similarly, in Pennsylvania, William Penn convinced a diverse group of people to come to his new colony by guaranteeing a representative assembly without him influencing changes. And they also had more religious freedom in that region as well. Lastly, and most importantly, is the idea of salutary neglect. Put a big fat star by this, or a pretty star, or multiple stars, or a lightning bolt like Harry Potter's scar. I don't know. Highlight it. Something. This is really important. Salutary just means something that is typically negative, but actually produces a good effect. And in this case, Great Britain neglected or left their colonists alone in the 1600s and early 1700s to do whatever they wanted. So they neglected them, right? That's the neglect part of this term. This meant they had a lot of freedom to make their own decisions and created their own governments. This is going to also be really important when we talk about the causes of the revolution, which will come in a later video. This practice prompt that I'm going to show you today actually does cover some of the Revolutionary War as well, but I think it's the best representation of how they would ask you to discuss the ideas of self-government in the colonies and their impact. So today's practice prompt is evaluate the extent to which ideas of self-government influenced American colonial reaction to British imperial authority in the period from 1754 to 1776. So go ahead and try that prompt out. Think about your thesis, your context, your evidence, and then after you do that, check out the video description to see some potential responses. Hope you guys have a great day.